Hello folks and welcome to Linux for Seniors. Today's video I'm going to be talking about the file manager for MX, the Xfce desktop. This video will definitely be more than 2 minutes. I've stated this on my new YouTube channel that I'm not going to rush through things. I'm going to try to explain myself and take my time doing so. I would suggest that you subscribe for that reason. That way you can start watching this if you don't have time to watch it in its entirety. That way you can return tomorrow, the next day, or the following week to take a look at the remainder of this video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the file manager for the Xfce portion of MX, which is Thunar. And I am running the demo version, just thought I'd let you know. I am using a custom mouse pointer, and if you are curious, I will actually show you how to put that in the system. And you can actually get a link on my YouTube site in the About section to a link to a nonprofit website that has over 700 of these kind of mouse pointers. With that said, let's get going. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, and you may feel differently, is I'm going to change the behavior of this particular, the way it behaves on clicking from my file manager preferences. So I'll go through this again. Edit, preferences, behavior, and I'm going to go from single click to double click. Now, a lot of the file managers out there for Linux is double click, and that is actually my preference. Some people like single click. I happen to be the type that doesn't. So that is a preference thing. Let's move on. So I'm going to talk about a couple of different things. I'm going to also show you some undocumented shortcuts. All right. So first of all, if you want to increase the icons, I think we all probably can figure out we can go to View, click on Zoom in and out and normal size. If you notice, there's also shortcuts here. Hold the control key down and hit the plus key on your keyboard, normally found next to the back button, to increase the size. Or you do the opposite, which is control, hold it down and hit the minus key. I'm going to show you another way of increasing and decreasing icon sizes. If you're, let's say you're right-handed, or whichever hand you want to use, but take one of your hands, and I'm going to use my left to hold down the control key on my keyboard. Then I'm going to grab the mouse with my right hand, and my mouse has a scroll wheel, and most modern computer mice have scroll wheels. Holding down the control key, using the scroll wheel on my mouse, I can increase and decrease the sizes of these icons. This comes in handy for multiple reasons. Especially if you're looking through photos. I'll give you an example of that. I have wallpaper here. I'll make these things really dinky and really large. Kind of overkill, isn't it? Yeah. So anyways, I will walk through some features for you today. That first of all, I do have some additional hard drives. You can probably see that in the devices here. Not really going to get too much into the weeds on that, but I will increase the size of this a little bit. But first, let's reduce these icons to about somewhere where we can work with them. So we can also right-click on this panel bar, and then you can resize, doing it this way. Okay, just some tips and tricks. So again, this is Thunar, the file manager. You can use this video for other Xfce distributions because Thunar works pretty much the same on most distributions. So again, this is the Xfce desktop. I'm not going to really bother opening up Terminal and give you all kinds of information regarding the system because I am running in demo mode. I'm more focused in on the file manager. So let's move on. So you have your computer, which lists pretty much everything that you have, including devices. Now, if I do plug in a USB stick, let me go find one, into the system. You can carry files and make backups and that kind of thing for whatever purposes you want to think about. So I have a USB stick that actually has 2 partitions on them. It's a single stick, but it has actually 2 partitions. I will be covering a video very similarly. I'm just letting it load, and it loads a little slower when you're running it in demo mode. But more importantly, this is one USB stick, even though it has 2 partitions on them. I'll cover some of that in future videos, and not to get too much into the weeds. But anyways, this will be a typical USB stick. So you would transfer your files from maybe from the stick into your own computer. Now there's a couple of different ways we can do this. I could, let's take this owl for instance. If I wanted to copy it, I could right click and hit copy, or I could use 2 windows. So I'm going to actually use the 2 window method, but I'm going to first resize this box. So make it where I can make 2 of these. And then I'm going to click File and New Window, not New Tab, New Window. Okay, so it makes 2 of these. They're currently identical. Well, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to click this over to Documents. So this is my current system home folder / documents. This is my USB stick or backup drive, and the documents there. So what I'm going to do here is drag that and drop it. All it's doing is making a file copy. Anytime that you drag files from one window to the other, providing it's going to a device, it's a copy instead of a transfer or a move. You could technically also cut it and paste it. That's all up to you. I'm just showing you a simple method here. Okay, with that said, let me close that. All right, let's drag that back to the center. You have your trash can here. So a lot of people go, oh, where's my trash can in this menu here? Really, you just open up your file manager, your trash can is always going to be here. Okay, so you really don't need an extra trash can somewhere in your panel bar. But you do have shortcuts to your favorites in here. And then of course, just remember that the files or devices could be internal hard drives or external hard drives. In this case, the ones that are mounted here is a single USB stick with 2 partitions on them. These are internal hard drives. Example of that. So I could transfer files from here to there and vice versa. If you have a dual boot system like Windows, this file manager will see that, and it all depends on how you set up the Windows drives and if they're encrypted partitions and that kind of thing. But in general, if they're non-encrypted partitions, you can more likely access those files if you have some documents, for instance, and give that a try for transferring those into Linux. And keep in mind, if you're transferring files from Linux into Microsoft, that's a text file right there, an example of that. It's just a little recipe my wife had many years ago for cabbage diet soup. Anyways, you notice there's no extension on this. On Linux, that's acceptable. Linux understands this is a text file, but Windows does not. So do yourself a favor, if you're going to send this to a friend or even drop this into your Windows drive on your local machine, you probably want to rename that to like a.txt, for instance. Now that could be read easily on the Microsoft system and also your Macs. If the Mac system opens this file, I'm just going to rename this again to what I had it before, which was A. If you try to open this on a Mac, it does interpret that file as an application. Just wanted to forewarn you. So basically, you do want to actually rename that probably for both your partners if they have Microsoft and Mac systems to a.txt, for instance. All right. With that said, let's move on. So, PDFs are opened usually with something that is already installed. Okay, so there are PDF programs that you can download, but in general, it opens PDFs without a problem for viewing. Not talking editing here. Okay, that's a different animal, but more importantly, I'm just showing you that you can open up a PDF rather easily. The other thing of note, I don't think I have it in my downloads folder, so I'm going to pull one of those in here. I'll use this drive here, and I'll go to one of these users, and I have access rights to all of these drives. And I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and I am going to grab this mouse pointer folder and copy it. Copy the whole folder into my particular downloads from that hard drive. So I'm copying this drive to drive. What is in this thing? Well, this is actually this mouse pointer. How would I put this mouse pointer in there? Well, this will be a good exercise in how to put a quick mouse pointer into your system and how to select it. All right, so before I do that, let me go to your system and let you see where you would make your selection normally. So you go into your settings, you go into your mouse and touchpad, and you click on theme. This is normally not here. These themes here are installed in a different location than this one. However, the system understands that if you place a file in a certain location, it will display it here, in this case a mouse pointer. I'm going to add another one to this list. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to add this one. Where did I get this mouse pointer? It came off of a website called gnome-look.org. You can find that link on my YouTube site in the About section on the bottom. Anyways, if you download that into your download folder, it will be a compressed file like that. And you would just extract it into a folder. When you do your extractions, make sure that it extracts into a folder. I'm going to give you the example if you extract it in a couple of different ways. So I could extract here. Okay, there it is. I'm going to delete it again. I'm going to also double click on this thing and do extract here and extract to the mouse pointer folder and close. All right, so right now it actually did not extract properly because it gave me an index theme. Okay, I don't want that. I want a folder name. So let me get rid of this thing. So I'm going to go back to Radioactive, right click and extract here because it extracts it a little bit differently. Okay, now there's the folder for it. Where does this folder need to go for me to get this selection in here? So I can pick it in this theme area. Well, first of all, I'm just going to back this out to this menu here. I'm just going to, well, actually, I'll just close it and reopen it. So let's go back and take a look at this. This is now in my downloads folder. I'm going to go back up to my home folder. Keep in mind, my username is demo because I'm doing this as a demo. And you may not have noticed this, but there is a bunch of hidden files in here. Now, how do you view those? You click view and you can show hidden. You also have a keyboard shortcut where my mouse is twirling. Control H. Control H. All right, so this folder here is normally not here. What is inside of that dot icon folder? This folder here represents this mouse. If I remove this folder, that mouse will no longer be selectable. But what I'm going to do is add another folder to this dot icon folder. It is a hidden folder. It's a hidden folder. Anything that starts with a dot is a hidden something. So the folder symbols and these over here are your hidden files. Okay. So basically I'm going to I can do this two ways. I could either just do a copy and paste or I can drag the file over. So what I'm going to do is open up the demo.icons folder, make a new window over here. I'm going to go to my downloads folder, open up this mouse pointer thing. Now all of these are mouse pointer themes and I can pick any one of these things. But since I showed the example of extracting this one into a folder, I'm just going to sit there and drag and drop it. Now you notice that it actually moved it from here to there, because if I'm dragging files with two windows from my local folders into local folders, it's a transfer. So let me put it back. So if your intent was to copy this over to here, my suggestion to you is just for your local folders is to use the copy process and then go paste. If your intent is to physically move the folder or file, then drag and drop it. Now, if I were to switch this up and go from radioactive into my backup thumb drive, this would be a copy process. You noticed it didn't move this thing at all. Okay, I'll leave it there. Let's switch back to single pane and walk back over to my main screen under dot icons. Now I have this radioactive folder which just contains my cursor themes for radioactive, and it's that's the name of the pointer. It'll be a yellow looking pointer. How do I select it? Well, let me just close this down and open up my menu. I'm just showing you this as an exercise of not only downloading, uncompressing, but moving files around in your system. And at the same time, showing you a nifty little trick. There's that mouse pointer right there. It's called radioactive. I'll use that for a while. There's the cursor size for it, and it is selectable for higher version. Not all mouse pointers, by the way, have resizing cursors. Some do and some don't. But you can add as many mouse pointers as you want. All right, let's go back to the file manager. There's Thunar. So again, if I wanted to add another one to this, all I do is go into my mouse pointer folder. I'll pick another one. I think this one's kind of weird looking. I'm going to copy this one this time, and I'm going to go back into my folder manually. So there's multiple ways you can get this in here. Now the reason this hasn't updated yet, because you need to back out of the screen and then back in there. There it is. It's that one right here. You see how fast I did this? All right, you can too. All right, which one do I want to use? Again, these right here are actually installed in a different location on your system. If you're curious, they're actually stored here. I usually have to go find the thing. I'll make it easier for myself and hit I. It's in here. Those mouse pointers are in here. They're in user share icons. And by the way, this folder is, it's got permissions on it that have root. So you would actually have to have root permissions to put files in this icons folder. But for your single users, this is a lot easier to do, is to put this in your local .icons folder and use the mouse cursors from here into your system. The other one I just showed you a couple seconds ago is called system-wide mouse pointers. In other words, if you create a new user, they will get these default mouse pointers, not these three that I just installed here, if that makes sense to you. But I thought I'd point that out to you since it's part of the file manager. You can create the .icon folder yourself if you don't have it. Create new folder. And by the way, in a lot of systems, they're all stored here for your local user in a lot of Linux systems. All right, let's move on. Okay, I just thought it would be fun to have people see what that looks like. Now, how do I get rid of my hidden files under normal conditions? This is how your home folder looks like. So Control H, Control H. I'm holding down the Control key, Control H. Holding down the Control key using my scroll wheel on my computer mouse makes these bigger or smaller. Again, they come in handy when you're dealing with your photos, and let's speak of those. All right, so I'm going to pick on this one here, this little JPEG. All I did was hit the space bar and it opened up to let you see what this butterfly looks like. And you can do some minor editing here, in here. It's not a full-blown picture editor, but there's a lot of tools in here. Now, what can I do by right-clicking on this photo? You can set it as wallpaper. So let's pretend this is a photo of your child and or picture that you took, a digital picture, and you transferred that picture into your system, whether you pulled it from somewhere in the cloud You know, you can take your iPhone and then tie it into the cloud, and then from the cloud you can dump it in over here onto your computer, or stick it on your computer, however you can get that image in there. So whether it's wallpaper you created or downloaded off the internet, or a picture that you took, you can always set that as wallpaper. So I'm going to change the default wallpaper right now. It's that simple. So I will put up a couple of weird ones for you, just to be funny. I've shown that one before on my previous YouTube site. I used to have another YouTube channel that had over 450 videos on it, just to let you know that this is not the first time I've done YouTube videos. But anyways, there's a lot of different things you can do with your file managers. So this is Thunar. So again, I could resize the thumbnails. Now, keep in mind, if I hold down the control key, I'm going to scroll up to make these bigger. And as soon as I release the control key, now I can scroll with the new resized thumbnails. And again, right-clicking, set as wallpaper. You can do this all day long. You can do lots of things when you right-click on things. It looks like gthumb is installed by default, so let's take a look at that one. So that's what it opens up when I hit that space bar, if you remembered how I did this earlier. Okay, it's an image viewer by now. Very nice one too. All right, so you can, if you have stuff installed, you can also open with whatever you have installed that will edit photos. Now, I don't have this listed in here, but you may want to try GIMP. GNU Image Manipulation Program. It's available in most distributions for Linux. It's also available for Microsoft Windows and Macs. It is the equivalency of Photoshop. Just remember that one. You can take a look at some of my other videos, because I have made mention of that for software. Look specifically on that video for, you know, recommended software or software for Linux software for seniors. All right, so we saw the set as wallpaper. You can also rename your photos. And there's lots of little things in here. You can also click properties. Now, if the image is coming off of a digital camera, I don't know if I have any of these. I think this one is. I'll hit properties. Let's see what kind of image information I get. Yeah, that was taken with a Sony camera, a DSC-HX50V camera, and you can see all the particulars that was used on that camera. Let me find another image. I think this one was taken with an iPhone. Nope, that's a Sony. I'll find one that's different. It's also the same camera. Takes me a while to go through this big old list here. This is an old photo, so this must not be the same camera. All right, here's something that's really old. This was taken many years ago, 2017, with an iPhone 6. But it's amazing that a lot of your photos contain a lot of properties that these file managers can pull in, and you can tell the image sizes, when it was taken down to the minute, what kind of camera it was used, in this case an Apple iPhone 6 Plus, the exposure, and so forth and so on. So there's a wealth of information you can get out of your file manager. So let me resize this. I'm going to hold down the control key, scroll back the other way, and as soon as I get a comfortable thumbnail size, I release the control key and they'll stay in this thumb size. So that's one thing you can do with your photos. Keep in mind, you can make the screen big, you can make it small. You can also double click on these things and open it up this way. You can also just click it once and hit the space bar if you have the behavior set for what? Again, preferences. The behavior is set for double click in my case. So I'm showing all of these features with a double click activated items. Sometimes with single clicks, it's a little bit different when you're dealing with some of the little keyboard stuff that I'm doing. Okay, I'm showing this with a double click. activation. All right, so when you're doing your backups, it's also great to use your file manager for that. I failed to mention that. Let me close this. So in this case, let's pretend that I have tons of space on this drive. And by the way, when you click on these drives, it'll tell you the free space down there, down here. I'm circling. So what's important to you when you do your backups? You know, a lot of your backup utilities just back up your system files. They don't really back up your personal stuff. Your personal stuff I'm talking about are your documents, your music, your pictures. I don't know about you, but just to give you an idea, my pictures directories are quite large. Let me let you see with this for a second. I believe I have most of my pictures on that one. That's 31 gigabytes worth of photos. 34 gigabytes on the disk drive. That's a lot of photos. So when you're losing your hard drives, you know, nobody likes to think about this, but at some point you may lose a hard drive. Wouldn't it be nice to have backups of those things? All right, something to think about before I leave you today. If you have the luxury of an internal hard drive and you know how to put one of those in and designate it as a backup drive, that's great. It transfers data quite quickly. If you can't afford one, or you have a USB stick, for instance, that's your only source of backup, then use that. USB sticks can be purchased in large quantities. I'm looking at a 256 gigabyte USB stick sitting in my tray right now. But if you can't afford one, then get a smaller one. But more importantly, take your files that are important to you. Put them on a backup drive, whether it's internal or external. Whether the drive is a USB stick or a portable hard drive. Take that portable hard drive or USB stick and put it in a fire safe if the documents are important to you. Sure, there's cloud services out there too. However, cover all bases. Put some of that in your cloud if you can afford cloud storage, and nobody provides cloud storage nowadays for free. Or get yourself a backup drive, whether it's a spinning hard drive, a solid state drive, or a USB stick. And put that hard drive or USB stick in a fire safe if the files are important to you. I mean, it's so easy to take a USB stick out and then you realize that you just wiped out your backup files. That's what I'm getting at. But more importantly, Thunar is a great file manager. And it can do a lot of things for you. You know, the Xfce environment has been explained to a lot of people as being a stripped down version of whatever. You can do a lot of things with an Xfce desktop, and I have in the past. And I've been around Linux for over 25 years. I've seen a lot of operating systems, a lot of different desktops. I can tell you for a fact that Thunar can do some amazing things for your file manager. I touched upon maybe a half a dozen commands, but there's a lot more to this file manager than meets the eye. The same thing goes with the MX operating system in general. MX has some wonderful tools for you if you haven't discovered them yet. Some of them get installed by default and some of them do not. Do you know that you can add extra keys here rather easily? Would you like one button that will actually give you the shutdown feature instead of the logout? It's pretty simple to do. Right click, properties, commands. Turn that on. You will have it on your system and hit close. Now you have a shutdown button. It's that quick. So again, MX has a lot to offer you. Your file manager, Thunar, has a lot to offer you. On that note, I will say, hopefully you have subscribed, and stay tuned for some videos coming up on all kinds of subject matters. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully you'll subscribe to Linux for Seniors.